What's up, YouTube? This is Hellavision, and I'm going to show you basically my process of how I make crazy Wook bass tracks. So, this is my template. I recommend working with a template because it's going to make your life a lot easier. Um, so, the first thing I usually will start with is the kick and the snare, pretty much every time. And I'll make a loop that's like 4 bars or 8 bars, and then I'll just start messing with that and see what we come up with here. So I have all of my kicks and snares mapped to this knob. This is the infinite drum rack. I can send you a link to show you how to make one of them, but it's basically 100 or so different samples that you can switch out and have the same MIDI, so that when you're picking sounds, it makes it a lot more convenient to just swap them out. So the first thing I usually do every single time is just do this, and just put a snare on the offbeat and then kind of play with the kicks. So that's like a standard, like, "We Will Rock You" type Queen drum beat, and it's pretty lit. So if I don't like the tonality, I'll just keep coming back and changing these. And I actually have 2 knobs set up here, so I have like 240 something kicks and snares. So I'm usually not looking for something really tonal with the kick. I just want something that kicks hard and can kind of chill in the background. It doesn't, and is punchy, but doesn't like stick out with like some weird tonal shit on there. And just for fun, I'm going to try and like mix this as I go a little bit, so that at the end we don't have to like rebalance the shit out of everything. So I'm going to add, alright, I already have that glue compressor. I usually add a glue compressor to my kicks like this and just jack up the makeup gain. And have the soft clipping enabled. Sometimes I'll just add like some boost in here to make it hit a little harder. And then where's our snare? Alright, so that's pretty much sitting right. And yeah, I may come back and change that. So the next thing I do, I like to start with kind of percussion stuff first. So I'll like add some hats here. This is kind of the same concept. So I have like different hats I can pick. So something like that. And then what I like to do is, and it's kind of an easy way to do this, but I'll copy the MIDI from the kick and the snare, and then throw it on like a sub or like an 808. And then again, sample selector here. So if like the 808, if I use the 808 sample, I don't always know what note it's going to be, so I'll just double check that by just hovering and looking there. And so that's like sounding pretty good to me, so it's in G. So what I'll do here, and I already kind of did that, but I'll silence these. But I like to make my own basses in like a different session and render them as audio. And then I have it in my resample library right here. So this is some sine compression. I've really been having a good time with that lately. So what I'll do is tune this, because all my basses are usually in F, and bring this up to F. Alright, so now that's the same note. And then two things I've been playing a lot with is this oscillator. And like grouping that, mapping this to a macro. And then we can even bring that macro down a little bit. It adds some extra distortion. That's pretty nice. And you can change the chorus here too, and I've got some crazy results. But basically, with this kind of music that I make, I'm just trying to do some drops and some sick basses and some good sounding drums. So I like to just make drops first. That's just my preference. So with the 808 there, we can take what's in here and cut up to about 120-ish, so that you're not getting the low sound of that. You can also just use the low sound of this as like your wobble bass. Sometimes I do both, but for this tutorial we'll just do that. So that sounds pretty cool already. Another thing I like to do is this pitch envelope thing. And it basically moves the pitch up and down with this arrow. And then I usually like to glue compress that. Another thing you can do is add like a parallel bandpass. So instead of like filtering it all the way, filter it with both signals. So this is my bandpass, and I'm going to map that to 2. Stick that in there. 2. Map it to 2 over here. And then and just start drawing lines with the macros that I make, basically. And what's cool about automation is it's pretty much universal. So if I make something with this automation on it, I can take my same macro we made earlier with that oscillator thing I was showing you and copy that to the oscillator thing. And then also I like to use erosion on my basses, so moving this up and down with those expressions can be cool. So we might just map it to the same, oh no, the amount, map that sucker. Adds that extra like grit to it. And then we can map that. Actually, hold on. Map that and change the amount so that it only goes up like a little bit. And then as far as like processing goes, let me get out of this menu. I like to use, the glue compressor, saturator, and OTT pretty much religiously. Changing these can add extra tonality to your basses. On that filter too, we can add some OSR drive. Can do the sinoid full. On the OTT, a lot of times with these kind of basses, I don't like the super bright and shiny shit. That was a mouthful. And I'll turn this depth to like 20, 18 or something like that. Another cool thing is wider. I use this a lot. It just makes your shit wider. So it like adds more to the stereo image of your song, or your sound, I mean. And it makes it sound like it's basically surrounding your headphones. I like to mess with reverb a lot in my songs. Reverb is like just so sick, and we have to put it on everything, is my opinion. But with basses, you want to have like minimum reverb, unless you're going all the way with it. And really, like, the best way to do this is through a parallel rack. So that I'll show you, so that you don't have your extreme lows and extreme highs in there, and also it processes it in parallel, so you're not gonna get the whole sound as reverb. It's gonna be some reverb and then some dry. But what I'll do is something like this, and turn up the mix to 100%. You can also do Ableton's reverb, and then create a chain. We call it like reverb chain. You want to do pretty quick reverb times, because you don't want it to just like drag out to the next hit, and it's just not gonna it's not gonna hit as hard if you have it all reverbed out. But this is basically what I process a bass with. And if your computer is like not that great, I don't recommend doing what I'm about to do next, which I'm gonna make a ton of copies of this and basically alternate these sounds so they have some call and response on them. So what I'll do is something like this. Delete. And then up here, getting rid of those notes. And so then I'll go over here, and I might pick a different part of the sample. And then change the pitch envelope. Yeah, but that on its own is boring because people want to hear 95 basses a second. So what I'll do is just continue to copy this stuff and make like different variations. Might even use different like bass samples. I don't really like that one. might delete the automation on it. Just start fresh. That's kind of weird. Duplicate it again, and then make like the last bass different. Let's see, we'll throw this one I made earlier. So I made this one earlier, but sometimes I'll have a couple different drop ideas and I'll just group them and be like idea 1, and then the other one will be idea 2 in the beginning, and then turn these on. I like this one a little bit better. And then those didn't have any processing on it, so I'm gonna just copy paste this shit. That was like only part of it. Why did it change so much? I'm just gonna get rid of some of this shit. That one's getting repetitive, so what I do all the time is hit select track content, and that'll select all the MIDI clips or whatever audio clips you have. It just makes that easier to do this technique that I'm showing you. So I'll get something like that going, and like we don't have to use the 808. I use the sub rack too, which is like from an actual Moog sub. Available at producerdojo.com. Go subscribe to Illgates, and if you are interested, go on the producerdojo.com and get a membership, and you can obtain this. One of the cool things I like to do with my subs is do some pitch bends. So what controls this is the glide time, and if you have more pitch bends in your music, it's going to make your sub stronger because it's moving across different sub frequencies. Instead of just having one droning F note, you have it going from F all the way down to D sharp, and that's pretty low, but you're going to feel it on like some really good quality sound systems. And then, yeah, you can see how that kind of, well, actually you can't see that because my stream. You can see that this kind of slightly moves down, and the glide will control how fast that does that. Yeah, that's really pitch bendy. You can go higher too. So that's a good little technique to do. If your hats aren't sounding that great, one thing I do a lot is get like audio of the hat loop. Yeah, something like that. And it doesn't have to be the exact BPM that you're working with. If you do this, you can warp it and then kind of do your warp markers. I can't say warp. Like this. And so that it's aligned to the grid pretty much. It doesn't have to be like super exact, but it helps if you do this for the next thing that I'm about to show you. So you right click and then do slice to new MIDI track, and then that'll take all these pre-transients, slice them in a rack, and you can individually rearrange them now. So that sounded pretty good just as it was, but you may like add some stops and stuff. Yeah, that sounded pretty cool. And then another thing I like to do this with is just perk loops. You can really get some interesting stuff. Yeah, something like that. So same thing, just warp it and then kind of try and get it on the grid a little bit more. If you don't do this, it'll still work, but it won't be in time with your song. And so then you'll just have to like program the MIDI notes themselves. And then we can go back and just delete that. So now we have this perk loop. So I like just that first phrase, so I'll just copy and paste that. And then I'm pretty chaotic with how I organize my shit and just keep going back to different things, but if there's something in the loop I don't like, then I'll just go back and change it a little bit. Oh, it was the saturator, so that was what was making it sound weird. Yeah, your saturator can really change the sound of your bass. Yeah, you can really get a lot of different sounds out of there. So this would be like, alright, actually we're not even in that red idea. Red, okay, so then this one is the main, like, bass sound. It's on the one every time. So we're going to want to variate that some more. And copy down. That was funny how I did that. Some other stuff that I've been messing around with is, this is a secret, not really, but I've been messing around with the serum presets, the sequencer one. Everything in here is like really crazy actually. Yeah, right away you get some crazy shit. And like, you want other sounds that are not going to be all just like sonic compression bass. you want to have some like incidental stuff, incidental stuff that only happens like one time. But that sounds pretty cool. And like just stuff with more like different flavor that is gonna variate it from whatever you have going on currently. Might even change the kick for that. And then same thing with these, like you just copy and paste it, add some variation. So maybe I don't want that one actually. That was bad. Another thing about Serum is I hate I hate the dang reverb and the delay. It just pisses me off. I'll just add my own. The V room. Oh, I already have one. And then that was kind of cool. Just like, yeah, it's like a little combo sound. Needs more variation station here. Alright, yeah, so that's like your Wook wub. And that's like way different than the sound compression shit. And then we can variate this. Or we could just variate it like that. And if I'm making a ton of shit, then sometimes I'll just clear it out if I don't like it, or I'll leave it in and just move MIDI clips until they make cool noises. Oh, that's sick. Sick. That was cool as fuck. Maybe extend that a little bit. Another cool thing, which I'm sure everyone probably knows by now, but if you don't know, then now you know, is just adding like a cymbal. This can definitely be overdone, like if you do it too much, but I like to have them shorter if you're going right into the drop, holding shift to warp it. And then once I get that sounding pretty good, I'll do like drop Dorp 1.2. And then this one's gonna be different. Now I'm gonna save this before I maybe crash. This. We'll just introduce like a different preset entirely to make this drop cooler. I like this a lot. But it may be loud. Yeah. And I think we're on F sharp. Is that right? Yeah. So my sub notes need to adjust to F sharp. We can bring this up to E. Maybe swap this kick out. On some basses, you can like mute the hats in the perks to make it like more dramatic, like it's hitting. It's the only thing that's hitting, so they focus on that more. Let's make another one. Another one. Another one. Are you seeing a pattern here? Ah, shit. I deleted it. Select track content. Pop that sucker down there. Move this around. Maybe we can make another one of these things. Except I'll switch it up on you. We will delete that sucker. Go into here. Go into my bass folder. That's a cool sound. And then again, we'll dupe it. What else we got here? We'll do the first set. And then on the last phrase, I might get rid of the snare there and get rid of this to make more space. Makes a nice little transition. Drop two. And then this one, I'll just make a fucking different pattern. So yeah, that's it. Demon House. Because people don't want to hear the same shit over and over. But we might keep like some of the shit. I like that one. Ooh, that is just weird. I'm feeling myself. that's pretty wild. Maybe some erosion. And then we'll just complete it and add a 2.1. And then maybe like tweak this one, but keep the same pattern. Ooh, that is mean. Who hurt me? And they're sick of hearing that one because I played it 4 times. So we make a duplicate. Maybe even move it. Alright, that is alien. So, if there's like a high-pitched bass sound, I'll typically lower the volume on that. Oh, that's pretty mean. Alright, so let's just consider that the drop for now. Reconsolidate that sucker. Now let's work on an intro thing. So one of the reasons that I have 2 different kicks and snares and claps is because I'll have like a drop kick, drop snare, and then a regular, like an intro kick, intro snare. So we can make like the second one a little weaker. Not that weak, but does this have a glue compressor on it? Nope. Yeah, I just use this to get some extra punch out of my drums. A lot of the time I'll use like a clap. For the risers, I have like a little rack that I use. You can make it, but essentially what this is Serum's noise oscillator, and we can use whatever oscillator you want, but I'll have like the automation set up, and sometimes I'll just scroll through them. Have it do that kind of thing. Whoa, what the hell? That is weird as shit. Ah! Serum's failing me right now. But that sounded pretty good. And I have a massive X1. The new shit. that nobody uses. But the same concept here. I have a level and I have a pitch. So I use the same MIDI clip for like 2 different risers. Another cool riser thing you can do is this. Let me see if I've already made it. Yep. No. Fuck it, we'll make it. Oh. So you get a sampler and you go here, select the pitch bend range to all the way up, mod wheel set to loop length, go all the way up, then drop like a sample. It can be like a vocal sample or it can be anything really.
Too hot.
Not sure why it's not playing. Alright, yeah, there we go. So then we do this, click on that, click the release, you can do the forward one. Oh, it's all fucked up now. Alright, so now why it sounds like a whiny seal is because the loop length thing that I just made. Modulation. So you go into MIDI control and then under modulation, and then you pull this up. Yeah. So that's your bass nectar like looper build up thing. I like Teletubbies. And then also you want to add some impacts and some cymbals maybe at the beginnings of your main phrases, mainly for like DJs to mix your shit in easily. That's too loud. And then reversing them can add more tension to your build up. Having like a couple of these will make it sound like more full. Yeah, that's pretty wild. It's in F, or no, it's FX. Sometimes you can like kind of make it your own by just doing the transpose a little bit. And then we can do some like build up drum action. that sounded pretty cool. And then, wow, we got a lot of drop shit there. This sounded cool. So I might add that in here as like a teaser to the drop. But then I'll make it like hella more reverbed out. Oh. Not sure why that got all completely different. Oops. Another cool thing you can do is like do a sub riser with the glide. So I might do that on like on the down, on the first thing I might go down lower and do something like this. And then crank the glide time. You can see how many seconds that is and then do that accordingly. So at 3 it's like 9 seconds. So it doesn't have to be exact. And then you can do this invert button. Yeah, there we go. This will be like riser sub. And then we can maybe make like a call and response. Pretty simple shit. We can do the sequence or like a plug. Reduce the echo on that. The delay is on, which I hate. Another thing I like doing is the Granulator. So I made a rack for it, so we can like tease the what at the beginning here. And that maps to the time, so I'm just making the time stretch over time. Doesn't sound that great. Sometimes it doesn't behave as well as I want it to, but you just freeze it to audio and flatten. Alright, so since that's like a more exciting drop, we can add like this impact to like reverse up to it. Might even get rid of some of these. Something cool I like to do too is like take this Percussion 128 and then do that, and then automate like the sample selector. Usually I like to change the sample selector over time, but it can be good if you just need some extra shit to throw in on top, because you can pick different percussion sounds. To fill the intro part out, this is the first intro. This is really just drums bizzled. We can add like a pad. To do like musical stuff and melodies, if you can't come up with some shit because you're just not that musical, what you can do is just use the scale plugin and do C minor, because you're usually going to be in minor keys, and turn it to whatever key you're doing, because then that'll allow you to have just that key played. So you could like intentionally mess up. You could have it out of key on here, but it'll make it in key. And let's see, Totem is a pretty good preset here. And yeah, I mean, that's basically it. I'm basically out of breath here, but I will do a second video where I finish this up. What I want to do is add like a second section that's a little different, and then add like a second drop that will basically cover it, and then drop for, well, yeah, however you're keeping track, outro, and then it'll probably actually end here. So this song will be like 3 minutes and 12 seconds long with 2 drops, 2 build-ups, and a ton of different shit in it. So, hope you enjoyed it, and I'm out. Peace.